Hello and welcome to the Peroxcyde guide for Socrethar the Eternal on Mythic difficulty. For this encounter you want to bring 2 tanks, 4 to 5 healers and the rest DPS. There are a few things that change from normal or heroic to Mythic difficulty. On Mythic difficulty, Soulbound Construct inflicts 6 stacks of Shatter defenses. Also, when you control the construct, Reverberating Blow deals friendly fire, so make sure you dodge it. I highly recommend you're using just tanks for soaking. The first blow you're going to take is going to inflict 6 stacks and you will take no damage, and then the second blow, use all your strongest cooldowns and call for external cooldowns. If you have glyphs that reduce your cooldowns, for example Glyph of Icebound Fortitude, this is the boss to use this kind of glyphs on. Another new thing that happens is in phase 1, Ferocious Soul Stalker spawn. The way you deal with this is that you send one player on top of the spawn location, so that player is going to kite this ad around. I highly recommend that the player kiting the ad is the hunter. All you need to do is you stand on top of the spawn location, slightly after it will spawn and perform the ability called Eternal Hunger. When you see the cast time of this ability, you want to disengage away from it and kite it away from your group. Also make sure while you're kiting that you won't be hit by a reverberating blow. If the ad reaches you, you will die. There's another ability these ferocious soul stalkers perform, and it's the ability called Soul Regeneration. When this ad reaches 50%, it will perform this ability. To negate it, all you need to do is make a stun rotation. I recommend you use stuns that last the longest. Also, on top of that, do not overlap your stuns or you might fail. I also highly recommend that everybody switches for the ad so you make sure it dies. Those are the main things that change from normal or heroic to mythic difficulty. Now let's go through the entire fight. In phase 1, if you get targeted by volatile Fel Orb, run away from your group and absorb the orb. If you get targeted by Fel Blaze Charge, run to the wall so boss doesn't run across the whole room. Fel Blaze Charge inflicts shadow damage and it also reduces your movement speed. If you see Fel Prison on the floor, make sure you go away from it. If you messed up and managed to get into the prison, your DPS will have to break you out. Tanks should solo soak reverberating blows. The first time you soak, you don't have to use any cooldowns. On the second blow, use your strongest personal cooldowns with external cooldown, then perform the tank switch. When the Ferocious Soul Stalker spawns, make sure you have Hunter standing on the spawn location. When it performs the ability Eternal Hunger, disengage and kite it away from your group. When the ad goes on 50%, make sure you have your stun rotation and kill the ad as fast as possible. That's it for phase 1. When phase 2 begins, one of the tanks is gonna jump in the construct and control it, while the other tank tanks Socrethar and brings him on top of the red portal where the Dominator spawns. As soon as the phase 2 begins, I recommend you use your Bloodlust, Rings, Potions, all cooldowns, and do as much DPS as you can. Make sure you have an interrupt rotation for Socrethar for the ability called Exert Dominance. If you interrupt properly, you can one cycle the boss, which is what I highly recommend. The other ability Socrethar does is Apocalypse. It deals shadow damage to all players every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. I recommend you use healing cooldowns when this is happening. Throughout the phase 2, Dominators, Shadow Callers and Hunting Souls will spawn. When the Dominator spawns, he's going to make Socrethar immune to interrupts, so make sure you delete him. That's your #1 priority. He also performs the ability Gift of Manari, which inflicts fire damage to random players and to all targets within 10 yards from them. When Shadow Callers are up, they perform 2 abilities, Shadow Word Agony and Shadow Bolt Volley. They both deal shadow damage. If you can, I highly recommend you interrupt the volley. Also, if you're not part of the interrupt rotation on Socrethar, just interrupt them as much as you can. Just do it for the team. One more thing I'm going to add here is that if you have Death Knights in your group, they can Death Grip and Gorfin's Grasp these Shadow Callers, so it will make easier to kill them as melee can cleave them down. The last adds are hunting souls. They do an ability called Ghastly Fixation, and what it does is it fixates random players. And if it reaches you, it does Virulent Hunt, which inflicts shadow damage and horrifies you for 8 seconds. These ghosts should never reach you. I recommend you have ranged DPS on them, also make sure they are slowed and such. The last thing they do is Soul Dispersion, and that's what it does if you're controlling the construct and you get 5 yards within these ghosts. They will deal massive damage to your constructs, so make sure you avoid doing that. This was my guide for Socrethar the Eternal Mythic difficulty. I hope you liked the video. If you did, let me know down in the comment section below. Subscribe. If you want to check any of the other guides, just click the notation. I also stream on Twitch, so feel free to follow me and watch me in action. If you check the description, I also have some weak auras, so if you want to copy them, feel free to do so. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.